Hello and welcome aboard our new stories that I'll tell today. And today's subject, I'll link aviation with stories of substance that happen in my life. This is today's subject. I'll tell the story of it, and at the end, I will tell how and why I have it in my collection. The mate, or chimarrão in Portuguese, is a typical South American habit and costume. It is derived from the use of this plant, the Ilex paraguariensis. This plant was produced and cultivated by the Guarani Indians that roamed the region. There is a legend that there's an old Indian, after his tribe moved to a better grounds, found himself alone. He was soon followed by his beautiful daughter Yari. One day, a man had met them and asked for their help, as he was tired and hungry. He asked for shelter and food. Father and daughter shared the scarce food and the shelter with the foreigner. The stranger realized that the two needed his help as well, and after resting, went out to hunt and brought them food. The old man needed a friend until his final days, as he was already very weak. The stranger could not stay with them. Neither his daughter could take care of the old man. So the stranger told her daughter, Yari, and gave her a plant and told her to prepare this plant as, uh, as a tea and gave to her father. At this point, he revealed himself as an envoy of Tupã. That's the name the Indians have for God. And he did that because of their goodwill with him. And about the herbs, he told Yari to grind and prepare the tea with it. This tea would give strength to her father, also called her Ka Yari, which meant the goddess of herbs. The herb was the mati, and she shared the herbs with other tribes and telling them to plant and cultivate the herb, and that is how it came to us today. That's how the Guarani Indians tell the legend. The common ground is that the Guarani lived in this region between Brazil, Paraguay, Northeast Argentina. They were contacted by the Catholic Church, the Jesuits. The Jesuits were developing industry and cities and a country within the heart of South America. That was not what the colonial powers have in mind. So a war ensued between the Catholic Church, the Jesuits, and with the Guaranis and the colonial powers. And if you study or understand how the missions were organized, every socialist today will be ashamed how naive they are. And I highly recommend to watch the film The Mission with Robert de Niro. By the way, Guarani language is more spoken more commonly than Spanish in Paraguay. The plant, which is called a herb, is actually a small tree, the Ilex paraguariensis, and it's said that is good against hypoxia and is diuretic for sure. It contains 2% of caffeine as well. We used a lot on flights, long flights, instead of drinking coffee and use for uh, stay awake or pass the time. The use of mate, though, remained and was spread thanks to Kaayari, to us today. The original territory comprises the Paraguay, northeast Argentina, south Brazil, southwest Brazil, and Uruguay. And well, the mate went well beyond these borders, these frontiers, and is much appreciated in the south cone of South America, mainly. Mate, or the tea, is drunk in a cuya, which that's the name of the cup that is used for it. The name is given to one of the things that is done with the porongo. Porongo is the fruit of the cuyera. It's something typical of South American. And the term is from a Tupi origin and is widely used to make the chimarrão and tereré and the mate. Like porongo, the cuya is produced uh, with porongo carefully chosen for its shape and can be richly worked and decorated with gold, silver, and other metals as well. Actually, the straw is better made of silver with a golden tip. The tea or chimarrão or mate can be drunk just with hot water, with milk instead of the hot water, or very cold water. In this case, it's called tereré. It's widely spread, especially in Paraguay. It's typical from Paraguay. And sometimes we add other herbs, and my preferred is lemongrass, which I put directly in the thermos bottle with the hot water in it. The mate can be drunk in many ways, like the ones I'm showing here. In the summer, it's sold in the beach, the cold chamate. And by the way, we sell the charity mate in our shop Candiero in London. If you happen to be there, 32 Lower Marsh, London, by the Waterloo station, train station. Description below. Now that you know that a tea like this sort exists as an old costume, and I think it might be gone in some circles for obvious reasons, the tea is drunk in a group to socialize and in a common cup, a common cuia, and a common straw. Socializing is called roda de chimarrão. Roda means circle, and chimarrão is the drink. So now to the first story here. Once upon a time, the company I worked for, VARC, expanded thanks to a politician, at the time the Secretary of Transportation of the state of Rio Grande do Sul, which is the southernmost state of Brazil, bordered with Uruguay and Argentina. He lobbied with the federal government to grant slots to VARC to fly international and intercontinentally, being one of the first and most popular, the flight to New York. History unfolds, and this Secretary of State became the governor of the state. And in March 1964, there was a military takeover, and the federal government was deposed, and he had to flee to Uruguay. His name was Lionel Brizola. But he was not forgotten by VARC, and after a military coup in Uruguay, he was expelled from there and ended up living in the Roosevelt Hotel in New York, where we used to stay as well overnight. Most probably he was sponsored by the company to stay there. Every day there were two flights. There were two flights daily, one cargo, one passenger, and we would stay with him there, update him in all the news, newspapers, and everything, and obviously share the chimarrão, the mate, with him. As time passed and old wounds healed, I think, he was on a flight that I was the captain, and I invited him for a roda de chimarrão in the flight deck. It was allowed back then. And we had a long talk and shared the chimarrão for a long time. The sad note is that the day of his passing, my first officer, seen here sitting on my right, also passed away in a freak plane accident with his kit plane. He was not a fan of Mr. Lionel Brizola, but the chimarrão equipment was his. As I was born in that part of the world, sometimes I have my equipment as well instead of sharing the others. And here you can see me in a typical South Brazilian outfit, the gaucho outfit, the day I prepared a barbecue for 200 people in the company I was working in Italy, at Italy. Note that the kettle that I'm using to boil the water for my chimarrão has a correct setting for the mate temperature, and that was in hotel in Buenos Aires. In this that part of the world, the slightly different costumes have a telltale. Mm. How do you recognize someone is from Uruguay? The person in this image is the former Uruguayan president, Mr. Pepe Mujica. And you can recognize the Uruguayan because he is carrying his thermos with the mate, and they go on their ways on the street, window shopping, everywhere they go. They carry the mate and their thermos with them. You can see an Uruguayan for miles away. And that's a common scene. And now to the souvenir. In Italy, when I was there, we had contracts with Saudi Arabian Airlines for the Hajj, the Muslim pilgrimage that will start at the end of this month. I suggest a Netflix documentary regarding the Hajj, one day in the Haram. Very interesting to understand what the Hajj is. And one day I was in this shop, computer shop, and I noticed that mate is also drunk in Saudi Arabia, very much diffused there. And as I befriended the computer shop owner, I decided to give him a gift. So I bought in Brazil a number of these cuias that I'm showing here for him to promote his shop so he can write his name on it and sell it and give it as a gift. But end up that I never returned back to Saudi Arabia there, and he never knew I had his surprise for him, so I put one in my collection and display. Now, as I promised about the Guaranis, they are still living among us as a tribe. Some places, even on the missions there, on the ruins, and they have their village just behind that old church. And they are in ways of extinction as a civilization or culture because they are being assimilated by our world, which is a pity. On that perspective, they are in danger and they cannot no longer live as they used to be, which is very sad. And as we arrive at the end of this chapter, I salute you. Please share, subscribe, like my videos, and stay safe. Bye.